my email account. And every once in a while I think, okay, I shouldn't stay on this very long because somebody could be watching. But, and I forwarded the A quorum is present. Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested, Alquist, Ashburn, Benoit, Calderon, Cedillo, Cogdill, Corbett, Correa, Cox, Denham, DeSaulnier, Ducheney, Dutton, Flores, Hancock, Harmon, Hollingsworth, Huff, Kehoe, Leno, Liu, Lowenthal, Maldonado, Negrete McLeod, Oropesa, Padilla, Pavley, Price, Romero, Runner, Semidian, Steinberg, Strickland, Walters, Wiggins, Wolk, Wright, Weiland, Yee. Madam President, a quorum is present.
A quorum is present. Would the members and our guests beyond the rail and the gallery please rise? We will be led in prayer this morning by our chaplain, Rabbi Mona Alfie, after which please remain standing. We will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag by Senator Cogdill.
Good morning. Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote that God offers to every mind the choice between truth and repose. Take which you please, he said. You can never have both. The pursuit of knowledge and a quiet conscience cannot coexist. A mind in pursuit of truth must also be open to what that truth might ask of him. As anyone who follows the daily news knows, if one wants a tranquil spirit, then they must shield their eyes from the world. In the choice between truth and repose, the public servant must choose truth. And with truth, we must also choose action. May it be the will of our Creator that we not be satisfied in taking the easy path, but rather may the Holy One help our spirits find fulfillment in the pursuit of truth in both our hearts and our deeds. May this be God's will. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Have a good day. Thank you. Members, without objection, will waive Rule 55 to allow lobbyists on the floor for special presentations. Under privileges of the floor, Senator Cox.
Madam President, if you will join with me in welcoming to the Senate chambers the fourth grade class and parents from Golden Hills School in El Dorado County. They're sitting right over there. Christine King is the teacher, George Gratulis is the principal, and I, Madam President, have had the opportunity of speaking to the classes at Golden Hills, but probably as important as anything, this class is particularly special to our own Sergeant Tony Beard, as his granddaughter Chloe is one of the students joining us here today. Ask that we give them a warm round of applause and welcome to the chamber.
Any other member under privileges of the floor? Under motions and resolutions? Members, we will proceed by taking up Assembly Bill's third reading file. Starting at item 49. Do we have a floor manager for file item 49? Assemblymember Hill. File item 50, Assemblymember De Leon. File item 51, Senator Corbett. Are you prepared to take this up for Assemblymember Hall? Pass temporarily. File item 52, do we have a floor manager? 53, Senator Hancock. 54, Senator Wolk. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 566 by Assemblymember Nava, enacting to mobile home parks.
Madam President, AB 566 is intended to close a loophole that has been exploited in recent years by some home park owners who wish to subdivide and sell a park against the wishes of their local government and those who own the homes within the park. Current law already requires that a survey of residents be submitted to a local agency when a park owner applies for a subdivision. This bill clarifies that local governments are allowed to consider whether the survey represents the majority of residents. The purpose of converting a mobile home park for resident ownership is to allow a cost-effective way for residents to own the space where their homes are sited. Instead, the conversion process is increasingly being used by some park owners to sell people's lots out from under their home while offering little or no opportunity for resident ownership. Local governments have lost cases in Goleta, Sonoma County, Ventura County, Carson, and several other jurisdictions. By empowering local governments, this bill will give residents a voice in the conversion process, so they will have a greater likelihood of reaching a fair agreement with the landowners. I ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Benoit? Calderon? Cedillo? Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? No. Denham? DeSaulnier? Duchesne? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Hancock? Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Price? Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? Smidian? Steinberg? Strickland? Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? No. Yee.
Call the absent members.
Ashburn? Benoit? No. Calderon? Cedillo? Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Flores? Hancock? Hollingsworth? No. Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Oropesa? Pavley? Price? Runner? Smidian? Steinberg? Strickland? Yee.
Ayes 13, noes 11. Senator Wolk moves a call. File item 55, passed temporarily. File item 56, do we have a floor manager? File item 57, Senator Correa. Pass. File item 58, passed temporarily. File item 59, Senator Calderon. Passed temporarily. Members, pursuant to Senate Rule 29.10, the following bills are referred to the Rules Committee. These are items number 103, AB 920, and item number 114, AB 560. Back on file, file item 60, Senator Flores, passed temporarily. File item 61, do we have a floor manager? Senator Price, passed temporarily. File item 62, Senator Lowenthal. File item 62. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 291 by Assemblymember Saldana, an act relating to coastal resources.
Thank you, Madam President and members. SB 291 stems from the LAO's recommendation in 2007 that tries to reduce the workload for the California Coastal Commission, which is severely understaffed. Under current law, the Commission must process and issue permit applications for new development, even if there's a documented violation on the property. Because the Commission lacks the statutory authority to require property owners to resolve an existing violation concurrent with new development, the Commission must undertake a completely separate enforcement action to address the problem, even if it is granting a permit for the new development. What AB 291 does is prohibit the Commission from acting upon an application for a permit on property that's in violation of the Coastal Act until the violation is resolved. This is the exact same authority that virtually every city and county planning department already has. And incidentally, this legislature just recently passed the same authority on consent that it authorized the state gas and oil supervisor to deny approval of proposed well operations that also have violations on them until those are cleared up. So we're just asking for fairness and that the Coastal Commission have the same opportunity that all other planning departments have. I ask for an aye vote.
Senator Huff.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, I stand in opposition to this bill. And you know, it's one of those things that you have to ask yourself, does the Coastal Commission have enough authority or do they not? What this bill does is ratchet it up one more notch. And I don't know how it's similar or not similar to other things we've done, but what this will allow staff members, what this bill does allow is staff members of the Coastal Commission to make accusations, and that ties up the property from being able to proceed until that is resolved. These are not accountable people. The Coastal Commission's job is to make these determinations, and yet this allows staff members the ability to halt projects. And so with that excessive authority, they would be shutting down even more businesses, they would be shutting down even more jobs, and creating basically a no-growth zone. Frankly, the Coastal Commission already has a lot of power. It's already done what it's supposed to do and probably then some. This takes it a very onerous step forward. I urge a no vote.
Senator Lowenthal, you may close.
With all due respect, what this would do would just provide them with the same authority that almost every other planning authority has in terms of, and it actually will save money and time because right now they have to engage in an enforcement activity, and this will just say that if you're applying for a permit on that piece of property and there already is a violation on that property, clear up the violation. I ask for an aye vote.
Secretary, call the roll. Senator Cedillo.
Well, I share concerns, as I've shared with the jockey, how this one reconciles with your legislation. Now we have, with your legislation, the Coastal Commission meeting less, which means they're not available to respond to concerns from the community. And then this, as I look at it, this is a question of pending disputes, wholly independent of other initiatives. So, for example, this has been brought to the attention of my office. A restaurant owner in Venice wants to provide more opportunity for people to eat in the back of a restaurant, organically grown, all the elements that you would want in a small business, but is prohibited because of a waiting for the Coastal Commission to take an action, which then would render that a violation, a pending, not resolved, which then would prohibit this small business from opening a bakery down the street, from opening a coffee shop, would be a fetter on their ability to expand their business in this bad economy. I'm just wondering, is this really the approach that we would recommend, given that these are pending issues? So, two questions. One, how does it impact the proposal that you have, given that there'll be less availability from the Commission? And two, how does this impact those who have pending resolutions?
Senator Lowenthal, on your close.
Thank you. Let me do the second first. You mentioned about if it was any other, like a business wanted to open up something down the street, or this does not, what we're talking about does not follow the permittee, the individual. They can open up another business down the street. It's on that specific piece of property where they wish to develop. If there already is an existing violation on that, and now the Coastal Commission needs to engage in an enforcement activity, either through the AG office or another way, that it would expedite that process, because they would know that they have to clear this up before they can get a permit on that piece of property. The second question about how this impacts, we already passed impacts a bill that passed out of this House that said that because of the economic crisis that all state agencies are experiencing, that the Coastal Commission would have the ability to reduce their number of sessions from 12 to 10 if they also expedited and allowed for permits not to get lost in that by either extending the amount of time that people have for the permits. So I'm sure there might be some impact. I'm not saying there isn't, but they have tried to not to hurt those people that have permits already existing. So with that, I ask for an aye vote.
Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? No. Calderon? Cedillo? Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? No. Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? DeCheney? Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? No. Negrete McLeod? Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Price? Romero? Aye. Runner? No. Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? No. Weiland? No. Yee?
Ayes 10, no 16. Senator Lowenthal moves a call. Senator Denham, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
Madam President, under the privileges of the floor, I'd like to introduce and welcome the members of the Lee Grand varsity softball team and Coach Purdell. These very talented women from my district won the San Joaquin Division VI Southern League softball championships the last 3 years in a row. Please welcome them.
Congratulations and welcome to the California State Senate. File item 63, Senator Pavley, passed temporarily. 64, do we have a floor manager? File item 65, do we have a floor manager? File item 66, do we have a floor manager? File item 67, passed temporarily. File item 68, Senator DeSaulnier, passed temporarily. File item 69, Senator Strickland, pass. File item 70, passed temporarily. File item 71, do we have a floor manager? File item 72, Senator Cedillo. Do you wish to take this item up at this time? Assemblymember Salas. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1330 by Assemblymember Salas, an act relating to veterans.
Members, this is a bill which authorizes the Department of Veteran Affairs to establish a pilot project for the purpose of operating a cooperative housing project. The intent of the bill is to include cooperative housing as an approved home purchase for the CalVet Farm and Home Loan Program. Cooperative housing is described as the joining together of a people on a democratic basis to own or control housing or community facilities in which they live. Typically, this is accomplished by establishing a not-for-profit corporation. Like any corporation, ownership of the assets is accomplished through ownership of stock in the company. I thank you and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Aye. Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? Aye. Denham? Aye. DeSaulnier? DeCheney? Aye. Dutton? Aye. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Aye. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Price? Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? Aye. Smidian? Steinberg. Strickland. I. Walters. I. Wiggins. I. Wolk. I. Wright. Wyland. I. Yee. Yee, aye.
Ayes 29, noes 0. The bill is passed. File item 73, do we have a floor manager? File item 74, do we have a floor manager? File item 75, Senator Alquist. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1571 by the Assembly Committee on Veterans Affairs and Acroling to Mental Health.
Madam President and members, AB 1571 requires local mental health planning groups to include veterans and representatives from veterans organizations in stakeholder groups in developing their local plans for utilizing Proposition 63 funding. California needs to be prepared for the 50,000 war veterans who will be coming home in the coming months and years. Unfortunately, many of these men and women will be returning to their communities with post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms. I ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested. Alquist. I. Ashburn. I. Benoit. I. Calderon. Cedillo. Cogdill. I. Corbett. I. Correa. Cox. I. Denham. I. Dusanier. Ducheney. I. Dutton. I. Flores. I. Hancock. Harmon. I. Hollingsworth. I. Huff. I. Kehoe. I. Leno. I. Liu. I. Lowenthal. I. Maldonado. I. Negrete McLeod. Oropesa. Padilla. I. Pavley. Price. Romero. I. Runner. I. Smidian. Steinberg. Strickland. Walters. I. Wiggins. I. Wolk. I. Wright. I. Wyland. I. Yee. Yee, aye. Correa. I. Smidian, aye. Cedillo, aye.
Ayes 30, noes 0. The bill is passed. File item 76, Senator Smidian. Pass. File item 77, Senator Wolk. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 759 by Assemblymember Ma and Acroling to corporations.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a two-part bill. 759 changes California's antiquated system of reporting income from controlled foreign corporations, or CFCs, by eliminating California's one-of-a-kind inclusion ratio and conforming to the dividend deemed deduction applied by federal law and other states. The bill eliminates a loophole that allows firms with CFCs to import sales factors along with CFC income, thereby diluting the firm's apportionment percentage and reducing income taxable in California. CFCs are wholly owned subsidiaries of large companies that operate in countries where the parent company does not do business, often in tax haven countries. Only California requires the inclusion ratio, which not only results in significant compliance costs for business, but allows an often significant loophole for a few firms. About 500 companies will be impacted by this law. This bill makes a clarification in current law which prohibits a company that's located in a tax haven country from eligibility to compete for a contract with the state of California. The bill is sponsored by the Franchise Tax Board and supported by the major high-tech companies in the state. I urge an aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested. Alquist. Aye. Ashburn. No. Benoit. No. Calderon. Cedillo. Cogdill. Corbett. Aye. Correa. No. Cox. No. Denham. No. Dusanier. Ducheney. Dutton. No. Flores. Aye. Hancock. Harmon. No. Hollingsworth. No. Huff. Kehoe. I, Leno. I, Liu. I, Lowenthal. I, Maldonado. No, Negrete McLeod. Oropesa. Padilla. Pavley. Price. Romero. I, Runner. No, Smidian. I, Steinberg. Strickland. No, Walters. No, Wiggins. I, Wolk. I, Wright. I, Weiland. Yee. Yee, no. Huff, no.
Ayes 12.
Desaulnier, aye. Wright, aye to no.
Ayes 12, noes 15. Senator Wolk moves a call. File item 78, Senator Desaulnier. Pass. File item 79, Senator Alquist. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 82 by Assemblymember Evans, enacting to dependent children.
Madam President and members, AB 82 establishes a five-year pilot project in 3 counties implementing requirements that must be met before a juvenile judicial officer authorizes the administration of psychotropic medications to foster youth. Specifically, the measure requires that doctors conduct a thorough examination and consider the child's medical history before prescribing these drugs, and that it ensures that the child and caregiver are informed about the purpose of the medication and any possible side effects. Ensures that the court is informed about any other kinds of therapy that the child would be receiving, and ensures that a plan is in place to monitor the effects of the medication on the child. The Department of Social Services, in consultation with the Department of Mental Health.
Members, the noise level is quite high for it still being rather early in the morning. I'm going to ask you, if you have conversations, please take them outside of the Senate chambers. Sergeants, if you can facilitate this as well. Please proceed, Senator Alquist.
Thank you. The Department of Social Services, in consultation with the Department of Mental Health, is required to submit a report to the legislature before July 1st, 2013, regarding the findings of the pilot project. There is no opposition to the bill, and my last comment is that for children to be given this psychotherapeutic medication, which can have disastrous effects, it's very important that there be a plan for its use and that there is some accountability, a lot of accountability in place. I ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? All members present, ayes 37, noes 0. The bill is passed. File item 80, Senator Kehoe, passed temporarily. File item 81, Senator Negrete McLeod. Do you wish to go to motions or to privileges of the floor first? Okay, Senator Negrete McLeod will be recognized at Senator Steinberg's desk for purpose of introduction.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, I'd like to have you acknowledge that I have the Ambassador Inuge Liwanika has been a champion of peace. She is the Ambassador of Zambia, and she's also of peace and women's and children's rights. Her illustrative career includes roles as a teacher, a lecturer, women's rights activist, politician, and diplomat. You will be glad to know that the Ambassador earned her bachelor and master's degrees from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, the other Cal Poly. She currently serves as an ambassador to the Republic of Zambia to the United States, a position she has held since 2003. Dr. Lawinika was a founding member and later served as president of the Federation of African Women Peace Network. That group has worked to promote the protection and rights of refugees, to cultivate and promote principles of democracy, to promote a culture of peace in Africa, and to participate and advocate for equal participation of women at the local, regional, and national level. Dr. Lawinika has been deeply involved with peacemaking in Africa, including peace missions in Burundi, Rwanda, and the Horn of Africa, and appearing at the Hague Peace Appeal. I would like us all to give a warm welcome to Ambassador Lawinika to the Senate, and if appropriate, Madam President, allow the ambassador to briefly address the body. Thank you.
Welcome to the California State Senate, Ambassador.
Honorable members of the House, Madam President, it's a great honor and a privilege for me to be in California once again. I want to acknowledge the investment that your people and your country made in me. I went to school to Costa Mesa and San Luis Obispo, so I am a bit of a Californian. As you have heard, I have been in the Zambian Parliament for 10 years, so it's a great honor to visit the House. I want to thank you for your good work, particularly for children and for women, so that their percentages can be represented in all public affairs. Thank you very much for your good work.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. It is an honor to receive you in the California State Senate. Thank you. Members, while we are under privileges of the floor as well, it may be an appropriate time to acknowledge that today is the birthday of Senator Huff. Happy birthday to you. Back on file. File item 82, passed temporarily. File item 83, Senator Pavley. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1540 by the Assembly Committee on Health and Act relating to health.
Thank you very much. Members, this is an omnibus bill from the Assembly Health Committee. The bill would make a number of technical or non-controversial changes to various health programs and statutes. Nearly all the provisions in the bill are sponsored by the administration. It has received unanimous support in both houses and has no opposition. I respectfully request your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 38, no 0. The bill is passed. Senator Lowenthal, for what purpose do you rise?
Would this be an appropriate time to mention that we missed Senator Negrete McLeod's birthday this past Sunday?
Oh, happy birthday, Senator Negrete McLeod. And Senator Negrete McLeod, you were at the back of the chamber making a presentation. Do you wish to return to file item 81?
Yes.
Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 34 by Assemblymember Nava, an act relating to mortgages and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Okay, let me find my stuff here. Okay, thank you, Madam President. SB 34 implements the Safe and Secure Enforcement of Mortgage Leasing Act, which is SAFE. The bill will establish uniform standards for all mortgage loan originators. Under the requirement of this bill, all mortgage loan originators must be registered with a national wide system. Okay. And pass a comprehensive background criminal check, meet the minimum and continued education requirements that include education in federal law and regulations, as well as issues the non-traditional mortgage marketplace, and pass a comprehensive licensing test. These requirements will enhance consumer protection and consumer confidence in the mortgage market. This bill has received bipartisan support, and I ask for your aye vote on this measure.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Benoit? Calderon? Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? Aye. Denham? Aye. DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? Flores? Aye. Hancock? Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Huff? Keogh? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley. I. Price. I. Romero.
Aye.
I. Runner. I. Smidian. Steinberg. Strickland. I. Walters. Wiggins. I. Wolk. I. Wright. I. Wyland. Yee. Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Ashburn. Benoit. Calderon. Aye. Cogdill. Calderon, no. I to no. Cogdill. Dutton. Hancock. Hollingsworth. Huff. Oropesa. Padilla. Aye. Smidian. Aye. Steinberg. Walters. Wyland. Calderon, no to aye. Strickland, aye to no. Runner, aye to no. Cox, aye to no. Harmon, aye to no.
Ayes 24, noes 5 on the urgency. Ayes 24, noes 5 on the measure. Senator Negrete McLeod moves the call. File item 84, Senator Alquist. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 407 by Assemblymember Bell, an act relating to continuing care retirement communities.
Thank you, Madam President and members. While there are extensive statutes governing the openings of CCRCs, which are continuing care retirement communities, there is very little in statute regarding their temporary closure or permanent closure.
Excuse me, Senator Alquist. Members, I'm going to ask you to please keep your voices down. It is very difficult to hear in the chamber. I know we only have a few days left of the session. If you have conversations, please go off the Senate floor or talk in whispered voices. Senator Alquist, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. As I was saying, as there are extensive statutes governing the opening of CCRCs, there's very little in law regarding the temporary or permanent closures of CCRCs. And we're talking about cases where senior citizens, the elderly, have placed their life savings to move into a CCRC, and then a CCRC closes and they many times do not get their money back. So AB 407 will regulate permanent closures of continuing care retirement communities and protect elderly residents from medical risk and financial harm. Specifically, this bill will require operators to provide at least 120 days advance notice of permanent closure and to adopt a relocation plan to ensure that the closure is orderly and that all residents are adequately provided for. The bill has received no votes in either house. There is no opposition, and I ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 38, noes 0. The bill is passed. File item 85, Senator Onestad. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1116 by Assemblymember Carter, an act relating to cosmetic surgery.
Madam Chair, our Pro Tem and Madam President, members, AB 1116 codifies the practice of physicians and surgeons to do a history and physical examination for patients undergoing elective cosmetic surgery, and I respectfully urge your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onestad. Aye. Alquist. Aye. Ashburn. Aye. Benoit. Aye. Calderon. Aye. Cedillo. Aye. Cogdill. Corbett. Correa. Aye. Cox. Aye. Denham. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Ducheney. Aye. Dutton. Aye. Flores. Aye. Hancock. Harmon. I. Hollingsworth. Huff. I. Kehoe. I. Leno. I. Liu. I. Lowenthal. I. Maldonado. I. Negrete McLeod. I. Oropesa. Padilla. Pavley. I. Price. I. Romero.
Aye.
I. Runner. I. Semidian. Steinberg. Strickland. I. Walters. No. Wiggins. Wolk. I. Wright. I. Weiland. I. Yee. Yee. I. Corbett. I. Semidian. I. Cedillo. I. Ashburn. I to no.
Ayes 31, noes 2. The bill is passed. File item 86, passed temporarily. File item 87, Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 293 by Assemblymember Mendoza, an act relating to gambling.
Thank you, Madam President. AB 293 is substantially similar to AB 2627, which was given the blanket veto message by the governor last year and passed out of the Senate with bipartisan support. The bill officially recognizes limit liability companies by explicitly including the licensing category in the Gambling Control Act. This bill would require the Gambling Control Commission to develop licensing regulations to allow continuous operations of a card room in cases including but not limited to the death, insolvency, foreclosure, receivership, or incapacity of a licensee. AB 293 would also clarify that the Commission can take disciplinary action against an individual owner without affecting the licenses of other endorsed owners. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onstead? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Aye. Denham? Aye. DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Dutton? Flores? Aye. Hancock? Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Huff? Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? Aye. Semidian? Aye. Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? Aye. Walters? Aye. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Wright? Aye. Weiland? Aye. Yee. Yee. Aye. Benoit? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cedillo? Aye.
Ayes 30, noes 2. The bill is passed. File item 88, Senator Alquist. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1544 by Assemblymember Jones, an act relating to health facilities.
Thank you, Madam President and members. AB 1544 will streamline the approval process for outpatient primary care clinics operated by hospitals. The Health Committee has learned of dozens of hospitals that invest in building new or expanding existing primary care clinics only to wait 2 months, 5 months, or even 9 months to get permission from the Department of Health Care Services to open their doors. This bill sets reasonable timeframes for the reviews of applications and allows hospitals in good standing to open clinics when they are complete. 2 years ago, the legislature established the same standards for freestanding primary care clinics. Those provisions have worked well for independent clinics, and we believe they will work just as well for hospital-based clinics. This bill received unanimous support in the Senate Health and Senate Appropriations Committees. The Senate floor amendments reflect a compromise reached between the author and DPH on this matter and clarify that the expedited approval process applies only to clinics providing non-emergency primary care Thank you, Madam President. The Senate floor amendments reflect a compromise reached between the author and DPH on this matter and clarify that the expedited approval process applies only to clinics providing non-emergency primary care services to patients who remain in the clinic less than 24 hours. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 38, no 0. The bill is passed. Senator Kehoe is recognized at Senator Steinberg's desk.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, just one moment of your attention. I'd like to introduce a very important new addition to the San Diego community. I'd like you to welcome Rear Admiral William Douglas French, the new United States Navy Commander of Navy Region Southwest. And he's here today. He's been in the new position 2 weeks. And one of the thoughts he expressed when we had a chance to say hello was to thank the Senate for supporting the new compact that California is now joining that will help military families bring their children, students, into our public schools more easily. So we really appreciate and look forward to working with you, Admiral.
Welcome to the California State Senate. File item 89 is proposed special consent. File item 90, Senator Price. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 474 by Assemblymember Blumenfield, an act relating to contractual assessments.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, Madam President, and members, AB 474 is a bill that will help address our serious water shortage. Across the state, we're facing record low rainfalls, reservoirs of 50% normal capacity, and mandatory water rationing and restrictions in some communities. AB 474 is one approach that can be taken to incentivize more people to conserve water in their homes and businesses. It's a very simple concept. It authorizes public agencies, water districts, municipal utilities to provide upfront financing for the installation of water conservation improvements, such as cisterns, purple pipes to recycle water, or drip irrigation. A property owner would agree to be assessed over time to pay back the loan, and in the meantime reap the savings on their water bill. This bill expands on a recent bill enacted last year that established a similar program for financing energy improvements and builds on that existing framework to include water conservation. It's a voluntary approach on all fronts, voluntary for the public agencies to offer the financing, voluntary for property owners to participate, supported by more than 50 organizations, including the California Chamber of Commerce, California Association of Realtors, many water utility agencies, and environmental organizations. There's no known opposition, and I ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? No. Denham? DeSaulnier? Aye. Duchesne? Dutton? No. Flores? Hancock? Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? Huff? Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Aye. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Weiland? No. Yee? Duchesne? Aye. Benoit? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Runner? Aye. Runner? No. Runner? No.
Call the absent members.
Cogdill? Correa? Aye. Denham? No. Flores? Hancock, Hollingsworth, Huff, aye. Oropesa, Steinberg, Yee. Yee, aye.
Ayes 25, noes 9. The bill is passed. File item 91, Senator Liu. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 436 by Assemblymember Saldana, and act relating to elections.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, AB 436 is a revenue generating measure. This bill raises the initiative filing fee to $2,000 incrementally over a period of 6 years. The original $200 filing fee was established in 1943 and was intended to prevent abuse of the initiative process and reduce frivolous filings. While the fee served that purpose when it was introduced, its effectiveness has diminished due to the inflation over the period of 66 years. The goal of AB 436 is to realign the fee to an amount comparable to its original value because it has never been increased. The bill was recently amended to retain the current practice of refunding the filing if the initiative qualifies for the ballot. I ask for your support on this bill.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested, no. Alquist, aye. Ashburn, Benoit, no. Calderon, aye. Cedillo, Cogdill, Corbett, aye. Correa, no. Cox, no. Denham, no. DeSaulnier, aye. DeCheney, no. Dutton, Flores, Hancock, aye. Harmon, no. Hollingsworth, Huff, Kehoe, aye. Leno, aye. Liu, aye. Lowenthal, aye. Maldonado, no. Negrete McLeod, aye. Oropesa, Padilla, Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Romero,
aye.
Aye. Runner, no. Smidian, aye. Steinberg, Strickland, no. Walters, no. Wiggins, Wolk, aye. Wright, aye. Weiland, no. Yee. Yee, aye. Huff, no.
Call the absent members.
Ashburn, no. Cedillo, Cogdill, Dutton, no. Flores, Hollingsworth, Oropesa, Padilla, Steinberg, Wiggins.
Ayes 17, noes 15. Senator Liu moves a call. File item 92. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1401 by Assemblymember Ma, an act relating to organic foods.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, this bill establishes the Transitions to Organics Fund to assist farmers who are interested in making that transition from an uncertified farm to an organic farm. As we all know, organic products become more and more popular each year. However, there are barriers that farmers face when they go through this transition. The process takes at least 3 years and can be expensive with no guarantees of financial success. Thank you, Madam President. So the bill provides modest financial assistance to farmers who do go through this 3-year process. The fund will be administered by CDFA, funded by private donors and federal dollars, absolutely no general fund dollars. This passed off the Assembly floor with strong bipartisan support. I would ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested, no. Alquist, aye. Ashburn, no. Benoit, no. Calderon, aye. Cedillo, aye. Cogdill, Corbett, aye. Correa, Cox, no. Denham, DeSaulnier, DeCheney, Dutton, no. Flores, Hancock, aye. Harmon, no. Hollingsworth, Huff. No. Kehoe. I. Leno. I. Liu. I. Lowenthal. I. Maldonado. I. Negrete McLeod. Oropesa. Padilla. Pavley. I. Price. I. Romero.
Aye.
I. Runner. No. Semidian. Steinberg. Strickland. I. Walters. No. Wiggins. Wolk. I. Wright. I. Wyland. No. Yee. Yee. I. Smidian. I. Denham. No. Negrete McLeod. I. Correa. I.
Call the absent members.
Cogdill. DeSaulnier. Ducheney. Flores. Hollingsworth. Oropesa. Padilla. Steinberg. Wiggins. Wiggins, aye.
Ayes 21, noes 11. The bill.
Ducheney, aye.
Ayes 22, noes 11. The bill is passed. File item 93, Senator Leno. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 756 by Assemblymember Ng, an act relating to public contracts.
Thank you again, Madam President. Members, AB 756 requires state agencies beginning in 2012 to track contracts that are outsourced to private contractors and post that information on an easy-to-use website for public access. Amazingly, California currently has over 13,000 personal service and consultant contracts, which cost the state over $34 billion annually. That's $28 million a day. Many states are already doing this, including Alaska, Texas, Kansas, and Michigan. I think we can all embrace the concepts of increased accountability and increased transparency. That's all this bill does. I ask for your aye vote, passed off the Assembly floor with bipartisan support.
Senator Wyland.
Question of the author or the jockey. Is this bill intended to make comparisons between those who bid? Because I noticed it appeared in the analysis that if the bid accepted were not the lowest bid, that there would be an explanation.
I would have to double check that to be certain. I think this is mostly just to make accessible to the public the basic details of the thousands of contracts that we have currently. The purpose for it is in response to the nonpartisan California Research Bureau, which last year estimated that California could save hundreds of millions of dollars in unnecessary and wasteful outsourcing.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to vote for this bill today. I think the point the author is making is a good one. The model that I would like to see, and I hope this is something that we consider when we look at reform measures, would be to compare an outsourced bid with the cost of doing it by the state. There's precedent for doing that. We did it in San Diego County, and the county itself and those employees actually won some of those bids. We assisted them in how to make those bids. So I think that notion is good, but I would like to see not only that information, which already exists, but some comparison with the cost of doing it in-house, which I think often would be the way that we would save the dollars. So I think the intent is good, but it's just not quite complete yet.
Senator Leno, you may close.
Yes, I'll respond a little more specifically to Senator Wyland's question. In fact, if the state goes with the bid which is not the lowest, there must be an explanation explaining why that decision was made. So I'd ask for your aye vote.
Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Ducheney? Dutton? No. Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Hollingsworth. Huff. No. Kehoe. Aye. Leno. Aye. Liu. Aye. Lowenthal. Maldonado. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Oropesa. Padilla. Pavley. Aye. Price. Romero.
Aye.
Aye. Runner. No. Smidian. Aye. Steinberg. Strickland. No. Walters. No. Wiggins. Aye. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. No. Yee. Yee. Aye. Ducheney. Aye. Harmon. No.
Aye 17, noes 12. Senator Leno moves a call. Senator Alquist, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
Thank you, Madam President. The Health Committee will meet now in room 3191. We have one bill to hear.
Members of the Health Committee, please proceed to room 3191. All measures will be placed on call while the Health Committee is meeting. File items 94 and 95 are proposed special consent. File item 96, Senator Hancock. Senator Hancock, are you prepared to take up this item at this time?
No.
Okay, passed temporarily. File item 97, Senator Price. Passed temporarily. File item 98, Senator Cox. Secretary, please read. Actually, Senator Cox, this is proposed special consent. File item 99, Senator DeSaulnier. Passed temporarily. File item 100, Senator Negrete McLeod. Passed temporarily. File item 101, Senator Wright. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 568 by Assembly Member Liu, an act relating to counterfeit goods.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, AB 568 is an attempt to rein in counterfeit goods. It provides some leverage for landlords when there's a tenant in a property selling counterfeit goods, sponsored by the District Attorney of Los Angeles County. Members, California loses a lot of sales tax and other revenue because things are counterfeited. It impedes the business of that companies doing that, particularly hurts our movie business. There are some places where you can see hundreds and hundreds of actual counterfeit DVDs and CDs, which really impairs industry in California, where we derive a lot of revenue. There's no opposition to the bill that I'm aware of. I would ask for an aye vote.
Is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested. Alquist. Ashburn. Aye. Benoit. Calderon. Aye. Cedillo. Cogdill. Corbett. Correa. Cox. Denham. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Ducheney. Aye. Dutton. Flores. Hancock. Harmon. Aye. Hollingsworth. Huff. Aye. Kehoe. Aye. Leno. Aye. Liu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Maldonado. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Oropesa. Padilla. Pavley. Price. Aye. Romero.
Aye.
Aye. Runner. Aye. Smidian. Steinberg. Strickland. Walters. Wiggins. Aye. Wolk. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Aye. Yee. Yee. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Benoit. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Correa. Aye. Dutton. Aye.
Ayes 24, noes 0. Senator Wright moves a call. Senator Runner, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
I believe the next item.
File item 102 is proposed special consent.
That's fine. Thank you.
File item 103, Senator Hancock. Passed temporarily. File item 104, Senator Ducheney. Committee on Budget. Passed temporarily. File item 105, Senator Ducheney. Actually, there are several committee bills. Do you wish to pass all of these budget items? All right, members, then File item 112 is proposed special consent. Senator Price. File item 113, Senator Strickland, not at his desk. 114, not at her desk. 115 is proposed special consent. 116 is proposed special consent. 117, Senator Hancock, passed temporarily. File item 118, passed temporarily. File item 119, proposed special consent. File item 120, proposed special consent. File item 121, Senator Leno, passed temporarily. File item 122, passed temporarily. File item 123, Senator Price, proposed special consent. File item 124, passed temporarily. File item 125, Senator Cedillo, passed temporarily. File item 126, Senator Wolf, passed temporarily. File item 127, Padilla, proposed special consent. File item 128, passed temporarily. 129, Senator Liu. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1512 by Assemblymember Liu, enacting to food and drug safety.
Thank you, Madam President. Senators, at various retail pharmacies throughout California, products such as over-the-counter medicines, baby foods, baby formula are being sold beyond their expiration date. AB 1512 builds upon federal regulations which require an expiration or, quote, use-by date to be placed on infant formula, baby food, or drugs by prohibiting a retailer from selling these products after their dates in California. Expiration dates are important in keeping consumers safe and should be regulated at the state level. AB 1512 will make certain that the health and safety of California consumers are protected by prohibiting and penalizing the sale of expired products. This bill is sponsored by the Consumer Federation of California, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested, Alquist, Ashburn, no. Benoit, Calderon, Cedillo, Cogdill, Corbett, Correa, Cox, Denham, DeSaulnier, Ducheney, Dutton, no. Flores, Hancock, aye. Harmon, no. Hollingsworth, Huff, no. Kehoe, aye. Leno, Liu, aye. Lowenthal, aye. Maldonado, Negrete McLeod, Oropesa, Padilla, Pavley, Price, aye. Romero,
aye.
Aye. Runner, no. Smidian, Steinberg, Strickland, Walters, no. Wiggins, aye. Wolk, Wright, aye. Weiland, no. Yee, aye. Correa, aye. Calderon, no.
Ayes 10, noes 8. Senator Liu moves a call. File item 130 is proposed special consent. File items. Members, without objection, will return to file item 97. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 3 by Assemblymember Manuel Perez, enacting to workforce development.
Thank you, Madam President. AB 3 will create Renewable Energy Workforce Readiness Initiative. The initiative would require the California Workforce Investment Board to work in collaboration with local workforce investment boards to create guidance on how to establish a regionally strategic investment plan on how to best utilize federal stimulus, Workforce Investment Act, and other federal funds in developing a renewable energy workforce. As you know, the state has a renewable portfolio standard that requires entities to have certain amounts of renewable energy within their capacity. As we move forward, an infrastructure that will allow the green-collar economy to grow, we need to make sure that we establish comprehensive green-collar assessment, training, and placement programs in the state. AB 3 will do just that. The bill is sponsored by the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights and the California NAACP and does not impact the general fund. It only authorizes the use of Workforce Investment Act dollars, federal stimulus, and other federal funds that are given to the California Workforce Investment Board to comply with the requirements of the bill. There are 33 organizations in support, and there is no known opposition. I ask for your aye vote.
Senator Runner.
President, I just want to quickly point out that it's interesting that we have this excitement and idea of trying to create jobs, a green job portfolio. I just want to point out this one fact that kind of ought to be understood as we move forward with this vision. First of all, I understand that there are some jobs that might be created as a result of a larger portfolio, including the idea of different kind of energy sources. But yet the reality we need to also address, and that is those who make the solar panels, those who make the parts that the solar panels go on, those who make the turbines, all those things that are part of the green job portfolio are not made in California. They are made in other states or other countries. And if you really want to create green jobs, you've got to do green job manufacturing. And you know what? Manufacturers don't care if they're making a turbine or a solar panel or a car or a widget. They will go to where there's an openness to the idea of job creation, and California is not one of those places. So as a result, we can go ahead and do all the things we want to do to create jobs, for green jobs. But the fact is, until we create an economy that attracts manufacturing, whether, again, it's green manufacturing, solar panels, all those other parts, or whether it's cars or widgets, we will not see those jobs. Well, we'll get a few of those jobs that will be putting up the turbine or building the solar field, because those have to be done here in California. You can't move them somewhere else. Those jobs have got to be here. But those are just very temporary jobs in order to complete the field or the turbine. Once they're in place, there are very few jobs that actually operate those kinds of energy-producing features. As a result of that, we need to have a bigger vision. We need to figure out how to get those manufacturers here in California in order to create those green jobs that merely make a difference. I'd ask for a no vote until we do a complete package.
Senator Wright.
I rise to support the bill, and oddly enough, I think that what Senator Runner just said and the text of the bill are not at odds. I would add another caution as well that Senator Runner didn't raise. That particularly is we have to be very careful describing green jobs. Solar panels are installed by carpenters and electricians. We should train people to be carpenters and electricians. And I submit to you that if you train someone to install solar panels, that really has done that person a disservice. I agree with Senator Runner that you want to encourage manufacturing. And certainly on this floor, I've spoken a number of times about California's discouraging policies toward much of the manufacturing business. But that said, you still want to train people in jobs where you know that that job is going to have a future. Many of you know on this floor I've stood and spoken about vocational education. Plumbers, electricians, mechanics, carpenters, all of those are jobs that have a long future, and we want to preserve those. If we're able to take some federal dollars and use those to train people, and I'm old school, so I still say vocational education, but if we're able to train people in career tech or vocational or whatever you call it, if that job has a long future, then that's a good thing. So again, I support the bill because it's taking money and placing it into a stream where we'll be able to train people. My caution would be that as we move forward with this program, that we do not pigeonhole people into jobs that have no future. Because if I train you simply how to install a solar panel, or if I train you in a very narrow aspect of a particular job, I didn't really do you any favors. We need carpenters, plumbers, electricians, steam fitters, all of those regular jobs that really do what is often now referred to as a green job. So I'd ask for an aye vote and hope that the people modify how they describe it so that they're long-lasting jobs in the future.
Senator Dutton.
I don't necessarily disagree. However,
the Employment Training Panel and Economic Development Corporation department already has programs to help train people to become plumbers, electricians, and so forth. What we really need to do at this point is that we need to stop worrying about whether they be green jobs, purple jobs, pink jobs, whatever. They need to just be jobs, period. And right now, the green jobs are also being chased out of this state. The example was used for solar panels. I don't need to remind anybody, a well-respected former member of this legislature couldn't set up his solar manufacturing plant here in California because of the excessive regulatory climate and decided to set it up in Wales instead. Okay, so that's all you're doing. You've got to get back to some basics here. The bottom line comes down, and I've said this before and I'll keep saying it, AB 32 is a road to disaster the way it's currently being implemented. Recently, even Sac State, as I have told everybody before, has estimated the implementation of that AB 32, the way it's currently being done, will cost California another 1.1 million jobs. And it'll cost the small business operators of the state at least $50,000 to implement its requirements. People, you've got to put some common sense back into this. Creating another agency or another program doesn't solve it. You need to eliminate the roadblocks. You ought to start right now by at least bringing back my bills, SB 295, to the floor at some point so we can actually put some common sense, some economic common sense, back in actually trying to do something to help this planet. I would respectfully request a no vote.
Senator Wyland.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, as most of you know, I've been a longtime supporter of CTE, or as Senator Wright called it, vocational education. I thought his remarks were completely on the mark. I just add a couple of things. The United States is the only country, only single, sole country that is industrialized that does not have an elaborate system of education in conjunction with industry. Secondly, in most of these countries, they do not look down upon those who are interested in these skills, and those who learn these skills are able to read, write, and have all the fundamental skills that we so want. Unless we act now, and I think most of us in both bodies of this House care about this. We care about the dropout rate. And I'll say something again because I think it's worth saying, and that is this applies to middle-class kids absolutely as much as it applies to any other kid. Talk to your friends. The only reason they don't drop out is because middle-class parents won't let them. There's no difference. I recently managed to secure an opportunity for the son of a friend of mine in an electrician apprenticeship program. It's a union job, just happens to be. It's a good apprenticeship program, and it's typical. He's drifted for almost 10 years after high school. It used to be those programs enrolled kids right after high school or right after military service. If we're going to make this change that many of us and most of us believe in, and as Senator Wright pointed out, that enables someone to do all kinds of work. This electrician will be able to wire a green building if it's so designed. He'll be able to do all of this work. The problem is we have forces in this state, in this capital, who believe that only one standard is applicable. A to G, University of California. And who, with incredible hypocrisy, will qualify as G courses an art course. Because an art course is, well, it's sort of more intellectual somehow. It's a discrimination based on a belief that we don't want to admit, which is that somehow someone who doesn't follow a purely academic route is not quite as much of a citizen or a person as someone who doesn't. We have to address it. We have to address it right now. And then, at that point, we can actually accomplish what Assemblyman Perez wants to accomplish. So we need to recognize this and move on it. One way we can move on it is making sure that Senator Wright's bill passes the Assembly and is signed into law.
Senator Ashburn.
Pass.
Senator Price, you may close.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to thank the senators for their thoughtful and far-reaching comments. I certainly agree we need to do more to make certain that our manufacturers are able to do business in this state, that they are able to participate in this green economy, and that we have good California jobs. Indeed, I know there's some measures on the governor's desk, AB 904, that would provide tax incentives for manufacturers currently doing business in the green economy. And so we certainly want to encourage that. But this legislation is focusing on those who need the kind of training, the kind of assistance sometimes to get a leg up and to move forward. We want to make sure that they have opportunities to explore and identify opportunities in the green economy. And so this bill merely encourages workforce investments boards to work in a collaborative manner, making certain that the resources are used in a way as they are best designed, that is to assist those who need help. It's a start. Certainly it's not going to be the only step necessary, but I think it's an important step, and I urge your aye vote.
Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? Alquist? Ashburn? No. Benoit? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? Denham? DeSaulnier? Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Price? Aye. Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? No. Smidian? Steinberg? Strickland? Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Wright? Aye. Weiland? Aye. Yee? Yee, aye. Padilla, aye. Denham, no.
Aye 16, no 7. Senator Price moves a call. Members will pass temporarily on file items 131 to 135. File item 136, Senator Wright. Passed temporarily. File item 137, do we have a floor manager? File item 138, do we have a floor manager? Members, we have Senator Liu.
138.
File item 138. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Concurrent Resolution 90 by Assemblymember Bell relative to Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, substance use disorders impact more than 23 million people 12 years of age or older in the United States, which is more than the number of people living with coronary heart disease, cancer, and Alzheimer's disease combined. ACR 90 is designed to raise awareness for the importance of substance abuse disorder treatments and help those suffering from substance use disorders and their families receive treatment. Studies have found individualized treatment is essential for people to be successful in their path toward recovery. People who receive treatment for substance use disorders can lead more productive and fulfilling lives personally and professionally. Real stories of long-term recovery can inspire others to help and improve their own lives, families, and communities. The theme of this year's efforts is Join the Voices for Recovery. Together we learn, together we heal, which emphasizes the need to use all available resources to educate people about the disease of addiction, self-help, and heal. This is an issue that California needs to recognize, and we all must do what we can to increase access to treatment. ACR 90 is a step in the right direction by proclaiming the month of September of 2009 as Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month. This measure will help people understand there is hope and help for alcohol and drug use disorders is available. ACR 90 has received no votes and passed through the Assembly on special consent, and I ask for your aye vote.
Is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 39, noes 0. The bill is passed. Members, we have completed Assembly Bill's third reading file. Does any other member who's present on the floor at this time have an item they wish to take up? Senator Harman.
Thank you, Madam President. I didn't want to take a bill up, but I did want to remove from today's special consent calendar file item 139, SB 193.
The desk will note. Senator Yee, are you prepared to take up on a special item, file item 28? And Senator Yee will be recognized at Senator Steinberg's desk. Secretary, please read.
Thank you very much, Madam.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 48 by Senator Yee relative to Filipino American History Month.
Thank you very much, Madam President and Senators. This issue is long overdue. The recognition of the contributions of Filipino Americans, not only here in California, but throughout this country, is something long overdue. Recently, after many, many years of battles and fights and advocacy on the part of the Filipino American community, and I think all communities, U.S. Congress finally agreed that we do, in fact, need to provide benefits for these heroes of this country. Filipino Americans have been here for quite some time. The first documented proof of Filipino presence was in Morro Bay on October 18th, 1587, the first settlement. These Filipinos were pioneers in coming to this shore to make a better life for themselves. And over the years, they've been absolutely stellar in doing what they can to help their family and their community. Probably one of the most important piece of information for the Filipino American community is what many would call the Filipino American Holocaust. During World War II, nearly 1 million Filipinos out of a population of 18 million died in World War II struggle. These individuals had allegiance to the Republic of Philippines and is recognized by their flag there, but they also had long desires and long patriotism towards these United States. And he fought along American soldiers with some hope and expectation that this country would recognize them. And then finally, Congress has. But I want to note to you that in this audience is a group of Filipino Americans who represent the very finest of reputation and honor and dignity of all of us Americans. And these individuals fought along with our American soldiers, and we should acknowledge them. And one of the ways to do that is, in fact, to support this resolution, SCR 48. For quite some time, there have been many individuals asking, how can the state of California recognize these contributions of Filipino Americans? And finally, we have this opportunity. And so with your vote, we will then designate October each year as Filipino American History Month. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Yee. Members, without objection, a photographer is allowed on the floor. Is there any discussion or debate? Any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 39, noes 0. The amendments are concurred in. Senator Yee, thank you so very much and welcome to the California State Senate. Senator Yee?
Madam President, if I can just note that there's one individual among this group of fine heroes, and that's Lucio Damani, and he is one of the survivors of the Bataan Death March. Thank you very, very much.
It is an honor to receive you in the California State Senate. Thank you. Members, we will return to Assembly third reading file. We will go to file item 82. Senator Hancock, Secretary, please read. File item 82.
Assembly Bill 8 by Assemblymember Brownlee, an act relating to education finance.
Thank you, Madam President and members. California's system of school finance is a result of decades of legislation, court-ordered and voter-mandated changes. It is highly centralized and extremely complex. The Getting Down to Facts education adequacy studies coordinated by Stanford University and the Governor's Committee on Education Excellence made it clear that if California is to make significant progress improving its public schools, the entire education finance system needs to be reviewed and reformed. AB 8 is an important next step in this reform. It builds on the analysis in the two prior studies and establishes a working group of experts to make final recommendations to the legislature for approval of improvements to our system. AB 8 will help us build consensus and act to reform our complex and confusing education finance system while building accountability and common understanding of how the state's education dollars are spent. It passed the Assembly floor and the Senate Education Committee with no votes. There is no opposition, and I would ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested, Alquist, Ashburn, Benoit, Calderon, I, Cedillo, Cogdill, Corbett, I, Correa, Cox, Denham, DeSaulnier, Duchesne, I, Dutton, Flores, I, Hancock, I, Harmon, I, Hollingsworth, Huff, I, Kehoe, I, Leno, Liu, I, Lowenthal, I, Maldonado, Negrete McLeod, Oropesa, Padilla, I, Pavley, Price, I, Romero, I, Runner, Smidian, Steinberg, I, Strickland, Walters,
53.
Wiggins, I, Wolk, Wright, I, Weiland, I, Yee. Yee, I. Correa, I.
Ayes 19, noes 0. Senator Hancock moves a call. One more item from Senator Hancock, file item 53. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1276 by Assemblymember Skinner, an act relating to international trade.
Thank you, Madam President and members. It's become increasingly clear as we move toward a global economy that international trade agreements and rules do affect the state's economy. Many state procurement, investment, and other policies could be challenged under the terms of various trade agreements. Currently, when a trade agreement is under negotiation, the United States Trade Representative consults only with state governors. Past governors have unilaterally bound the state to restrictive provisions that run counter to state law, in several cases requiring extensive actions by the state attorney general, costing time and money to straighten them out. AB 1276 would protect California by prohibiting the unilateral binding of the state to the terms of any future international trade agreement. It is a step to ensure that we are encouraging expanded trade and safeguarding the state's interest in building our state economy. The bill will begin critically needed accountability and oversight and mirrors legislation in 5 other states which have already addressed this problem and many other states that are considering doing so. I would ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested, Alquist, Ashburn, no. Benoit, no. Calderon, Cedillo, Cogdill, Corbett, I, Correa, Cox, Denham, DeSaulnier, Duchesne, Dutton, no. Flores, Hancock, I, Harmon, no. Hollingsworth, Huff, no. Kehoe, I. Leno. Lou. I. Lowenthal. I. Maldonado. Negrete McLeod. Oropesa. Padilla. Pavley. Price. I. Romero.
Aye.
I. Runner. Semidian. Steinberg. Strickland. Walters. No. Wiggins. I. Wolk. Wright. I. Wyland. I. Yee. Yee, aye. Calderon, aye. Denham, no.
Ayes 12, no 7. Senator Hancock moves a call. File item 139, Senator Lowenthal. File item 139 was on special consent, but it has been pulled. Senator Lowenthal wishes to take it up at this time. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 193 by Senator Lowenthal, an act relating to class size reduction and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Thank you, Madam President and members. Assembly amendments are technical in nature. They removed the 2008-2009 school year from the bill since there were no class size reduction waivers needed last year. As was pointed out, this bill was on special consent, has received no votes, and what this does is on Avalon School, which is on Catalina Island, when there is a closure or an evacuation, remember they had the floods and the fire and the potential flooding there, that mainland schools can absorb Avalon school pupils, resulting in K through 3 class size reduction limits being exceeded, only in this rare emergency because of the island and having no other alternatives. That the bill has received no votes, and I ask for an aye vote in concurrence with Assembly amendments.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested. Alquist. Ashburn. Benoit. Calderon. Aye. Cedillo. Cogdill. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. Cox. Denham. Gisanier. Aye. Ducheney. Aye. Dutton. Flores. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Hollingsworth. Huff. Kehoe. Aye. Leno. Lou. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Maldonado. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Oropesa. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Price. Aye. Romero.
Aye.
Aye. Runner. Semidian. Steinberg. Strickland. Walters. Wiggins. Aye. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Aye. Yee. Yee, aye.
Call the absent members. This is a 2/3 vote.
Onnested. Alquist. Ashburn. Benoit. Cedillo. Cogdill. Cox. Denham. Dutton. Harmon. Hollingsworth. Huff. Leno. Maldonado. Oropesa. Pavley. Runner. Semidian. Steinberg. Strickland. Walters. Alquist, aye. Wyland, aye to no.
Ayes 19, noes 1. Senator Lowenthal moves a call. File item 113, Senator Strickland. Secretary, please read. 113.
Assembly Bill 911 by Assemblymember Liu, an act relating to health facilities.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, AB 911 maximizes existing resources so hospitals are able to reduce emergency room crowding. AB 911 will allow hospitals to be better prepared for dramatic influxes of patients like those expected with the swine flu. AB 911 allows hospitals to use universal language to measure their emergency room crowding, so statewide and regional planning in response to public health crisis and disasters such as swine flu can be implemented. AB 911 is flexible and allows each hospital to design its own individual response plan. With that, I ask your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? Aye. Denham? DeSaulnier? Aye. DeCheney? Dutton? Flores? Aye. Hancock? Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Leno? Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? Smidian? Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? Aye. Walters? Aye. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Aye. Yee? Yee aye. Kehoe aye. Padilla aye. Denham aye. Ashburn no. Leno aye. Dutton aye. Hancock aye.
Ayes 32, noes 2. The bill is passed. File item 126. Call the. Please read.
Assembly Bill 636 by Assemblymember Jones, enacting to charter party carriers.
Thank you, Madam. AB 636 is a bill with a single goal to crack down on the large number of fly-by-night rogue bus charters that knowingly and recklessly evade the safety and licensing regulations that are required of them, putting passenger safety at risk. This bill comes in response to a tragic accident that occurred last November, 2008. En route from Sacramento to a gaming facility, a charter bus swerved off the road, overturned into a ditch, eventually killing 11 passengers, including the bus owner, and injuring 40 others. The incident brought to life the underground economy of rogue bus charters. The investigation into the accident revealed that neither the charter party carrier nor the driver had the legal right to be on the road. This bill has the support of the charter bus industry. They know more than anyone the severity of the problem and its grave and terrible consequences to public safety. The suspected number of unlicensed carriers and drivers demonstrates the fact that current penalties need to be strengthened. I ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? Calderon? Benoit aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Aye. Denham? DeSaulnier? DeCheney? Dutton? Aye. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? Smidian? Steinberg? Strickland. I. Walters. No. Wiggins. I. Wolk. I. Wright. I. Wyland. I. Yee. Yee I. Denham I. Correa I.
Ayes 25, noes 5. The bill is passed. Senator Negrete McLeod, you have a number of items. And members, we are going to take up Assembly Bill third reading file items. And then later we'll go to Senate unfinished business.
Okay.
Which Assembly bills do you have?
I have 5.
All right. First item.
Do you want to do them in order? Do you want to do them?
Whatever's your preference.
All right. Let's do them in order. File item 100. 1242.
File item 100. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1242 by Assemblymember Ruskin, an acronym to water.
Thank you, Madam President and members. AB 1242. In April of last year, Assembly Budget Subcommittee 3 held a hearing on groundwater contamination. It found that a surprisingly number of communities in areas of California, particularly those that are economically disadvantaged, do not have access to safe, affordable drinking water. This bill is a result of that hearing. AB 1242 would help to ensure that Californians have access to safe, clean, affordable drinking water. It would direct state agencies to prospectively take reasonable means to implement the policy. Groundwater and surface water in many areas of the state are contaminated with nitrates, pesticides, industrial chemicals, and other pollutants. In high concentrations of our water supply, these pollutants are responsible for putting families' health and safety at risk. This bill simply ensures that future regulation, grant programs, and agency practices are designed to move California forward toward a day when everyone in California can have a safe and affordable drinking water so that they may drink their water without endangering their health. In Senate appropriations, this bill was amended to alleviate fiscal concerns and clarify that this bill will not be construed to expand the state's responsibility or to require the expenditure of additional revenues. I ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? No. Denham? Denham, no. DeSaulnier? Duchesne? Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? Huff? Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? Semidian? Steinberg? Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? No. Yee? Yee, aye. Huff? Huff, no.
Call the absent members.
Benoit? No. Cedillo? DeSaulnier? Duchesne? Hollingsworth? Maldonado? Oropesa? Runner? Smidian? Steinberg?
Ayes 19, noes 12. Senator Negrete McLeod moves a call. Next item. Senator Wiggins, you were recorded on the roll.
File item 115, AB 623.
Senator Negrete McLeod, that is proposed for special consent.
Okay.
Next item.
All right. 124, file item 124, AB 48.
Secretary, please read file item 124.
Assembly Bill 48 by Assemblymember Portantino, an act relating to private post-secondary education and making an appropriation therefore.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, AB 48 establishes the Private Post-Secondary Education Act of 2009, creating a bureau within the Department of Consumer Affairs to regulate private colleges and enforce student protections. As many of you know, in 2007, the prior law regulating private colleges was allowed to expire. While there have been attempts to establish a new law, these attempts have failed because until now, the legislature and the governor have been unable to reach any level of agreement on this issue. Today, students have no protections, and good schools can't expand at a time when we desperately need to increase worker training programs. I think we can all agree that the status quo is unacceptable. AB 48 responds to the major problems with the former law and to the causes of failure in previous legislation attempts. It provides a solid foundation for a new oversight structure, and it represents our only chance at achieving resolution on this issue this year. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Senator Wright.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, as some of you may or may not know, the bill that sunset in 2007 was my legislation. It happened to have been the first piece of legislation that I ever participated in as a member of the Assembly. That piece of legislation was an extension of the first piece of legislation that I ever worked on as a staff person for then Assemblywoman Maxine Waters. When I first started in this business of private post-secondary schools years ago, members, schools used to come to communities like Watts and East LA, and they would recruit students and tell them that they would give them the money back if they didn't go to school. In some instances, the schools would actually take the federally insured student loan, and the student would come back the next day and there'd be no school there. The concerns that I have with this bill, and I rise to oppose it, and I tell you, this is painful for me because I was hoping that I'd never again in life have to participate in private post-secondary school work. But one of the major flaws in this bill, members, is that it doesn't require that if the school doesn't provide the job, that there's any recourse for the student. Oftentimes when you enroll in one of these schools, you're told, we'll get you a job. There's nothing in this bill that provides a penalty in the event that there's no job obtained. One of the other things that we used to have, and I'm the one who actually transferred it to the Department of Consumer Affairs. I didn't do that willingly. That was what Governor Wilson at the time said that he wanted to do. But what this doesn't provide is a penalty in the event that the young person not only doesn't get the job, but it also shortens the time that he has for recourse to get his money back in the event the school fails to provide what it said that it was going to provide. Right now, members, if you look at daytime television, particularly if you look at some of the off stations in your local markets, almost every other ad that you see is a private post-secondary school. Members, they're advertising to our young people because they recognize the failure of the current school system. That's one of the reasons that I fought so hard about vocational education, because every one of those schools recognizes that there are young people who'd like to have a career doing something with their hands, and they promise that. But what we're ending up with, members, is a number of young people who are bound by these loans. And by the way, federal legislation went back and said you can't file bankruptcy on these loans. If you die, they take the money out of your estate. So there's no way of getting out of these loans. Many of the people are unqualified to figure out how they get the loan, how you pay off the loan, and in many instances they don't end up with a job anyway. So the way that this is drafted, it doesn't really protect the student in the way that I would hope that they should. I mean, I got a letter and a call from Maxine Waters the other day. The Congresswoman was expressing her outrage at some of the things that were in the bill. I think we can do better than this, and I hope to work with Assemblyman Portantino in the event that this doesn't go through. And it's not to him personally, but again, this is an area where it's been the bane of my existence for more years than I want to count. I regrettably have to stand and ask for a no vote on AB 48.
Senator Liu.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, I too rise to oppose this bill. I commend the author for the work that they have done, or he has done, trying to reach consensus on this measure. But I have fundamental concerns that prevent me from voting for it today. A great number of schools will be exempt from regulation and reporting under this bill, which also means we won't have data on the completion and job placement rates. Furthermore, the job placement reporting requirements for schools covered by the bill were substantially weakened with the last amendments. AB 48 places responsibility for overseeing the lucrative private post-secondary education industry to the Department of Consumer Affairs, which has a poor track record of enforcement under this past authority. Further, the consumer protections in the bill are weak, and the bill does not, nor does DCA, have the expertise to ensure that students receive the education they need to secure good jobs. These schools are substantially underwritten by state and federal funds in the form of Cal Grants and Pell Grants for students. Without a quality education, these students won't fulfill their goals of advancing their careers, nor will they be able to repay their loans. Private post-secondary institutions are the fourth segment of California's higher education system. Our state is facing a shortage of college graduates to meet the workforce needs of the 21st century. We have a stake in assuring that this fourth segment offers quality education to the students and that our public funds are well spent. I understand everyone is anxious to restore some level of oversight to private post-secondary education, but I don't believe this bill gets there in a meaningful way, and I too ask for your no vote.
Senator Negetha McLeod, you may close.
Thank you. I'm going to read what the author has written on some of the things that we're doing that were questioned here. Let me tell you, members, in March, the Wounded Marine Careers Foundation, a Southern California film program charging up to $88,000 per student, was accused of not fulfilling promises to their war veteran students. In July, a student's pending lawsuit against DeVry was not considered because the law on which the case was based was repealed. In August, the Montecito Fine Arts College of Design abruptly closed its doors, leaving nearly 1,200 students without a degree, without their tuition, and without recourse. Members, another year without legislative action will cause more problems for countless students. It may be that everybody wants something more from this bill, but let's consider what the protections are in AB 48. It requires that all uncredited colleges in California be approved by the new Bureau and that all nationally accredited colleges to comply with numerous student protections. It establishes prohibitions on false advertising and inappropriate recruiting. It requires disclosure of critical information to students such as program outlines, graduation and job placement rates, and license examination information, and ensure colleges justify the figures. It guarantees students can complete their education objectives if their institution closes its door, and most importantly, it gives the Bureau an array of enforcement tools to ensure colleges comply with the law. You know what, members, I heard this in the committee we were just is, that we let the perfect get in the place of the good, and as every member that has ever carried a bill that has any kind of opposition, you give, you give, you give, you give, and nobody is ever satisfied. So with that, I ask for your aye vote. We need to help students. We need to make sure that we have something in place to protect them. Thank you.
Secretary, Senator Hancock.
Yeah, I had a question. I just received a letter that said that the amendments, which I had not seen, to AB 48 create a loophole for fraud, that there is no requirement at this point, because of a new amendment, that any job placement in which the coursework provided an undefined advantage over other applicants is going to be necessary, and that that the deceptive practices which the bill is designed to counteract, in fact, will be encouraged by the bill. So although I voted for the vote committee, I'm going to have to vote no unless there's an answer to that.
Yeah. The author has repeatedly asked for input and amendments from the groups and has taken several of their recommended amendments. I hadn't seen this here, but I have to say that the bill is stronger on consumer protections. I believe that if we have problems in the future, we can come back and provide for more consumer protections. I think what the author has done, if we move too far in the direction of SB 823, which was Parada of 2008, we can be assured that the bill will be vetoed. And members, the students then will be without nothing as they are currently.
Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Aye. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? DeCheney? No. Dutton? Aye. Flores? Aye. Hancock? No. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Liu? No. Lowenthal? Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Price? Romero? Runner? Smidian? Steinberg? Strickland? No. Walters? Aye. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Wolk? Wright? No. Weiland? Aye. Yee? Yee, aye.
Ayes 13, noes 10. Senator Negrete McLeod moves a call. Next item.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I forgot I was still there. Okay, I think I have 131, AB 98.
Secretary, please read. File item 131.
Y'all made me morose. I didn't know what I was doing.
Assembly Bill 98 by Assemblymember De La Torre, an act relating to health care coverage.
Thank you, members. Madam President, members. AB 98 will require all individual and group health insurance policies regulated under the Department of Insurance to cover maternity services for women in California. This legislation will close a loophole exploited by health insurance companies in order to sell cheap coverage. This measure The measure is similar to my AB 1962, which was vetoed by the Governor Schwarzenegger last year. It must be dilatory 1962. HMOs are already required to include maternity services in any health policy they offer. Individual health policies do not. The bill would apply only to CDI regulated policies, while DMHC regulated plans make up the majority of the privately insured plans. CDI regulated policies represent a substantial portion of those products sold in the individual market, about 38.5%. In 2008, 22% of the women in the individual market had maternity coverage compared to 82% in 2003. Approximately 600,000 Californians are enrolled in insurance plans without maternity services, nearly 26% of them of childbearing age. And in this year's CHIRB report, they estimated that the increase per member per month for mandating maternity coverage would be $7.17. Women will never need treatment for prostate cancer, men will never need treatment for cervical cancer, and childless couples will never need pediatric care. All of these services are mandated to be covered by health insurance. The amendments taken to allow more time for the Department of Insurance to receive and process the health insurance application newly amended with maternity coverage from January 1, 2010 to March the 1st, 2010. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Senator Calderon.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, I rise in strong support of AB 98. This measure is especially crucial to districts like mine, where many people have insurance but lack prenatal care coverage. Right now in California, 1 in every 9 births is preterm. Women who enter prenatal care late in their pregnancies are 3 times more likely to have a prenatal birth, a preterm birth. African American women have twice the rate of prematurity of any other group. Prematurity is the leading cause of death for African American infants. 11% of Hispanic babies are born preterm and are at risk for complications that could result in infant death or lifelong health problems. Babies born just a few weeks prematurely are more than 3 times as likely to have cerebral palsy than full-term infants, adding to the mounting evidence that the last few weeks of pregnancy are crucial to a child's health and their development. Members, protecting babies and soon-to-be mothers must be among our highest priorities. Babies born too early suffer needlessly, and their medical care results in enormous bills. The good news is that we can easily address this problem with some common sense prenatal care. For this reason, I strongly support AB 98 and encourage you to vote aye on this very important measure.
Senator Cox.
Madam President, members, I rise in opposition to this mandate. You know, there are sometimes certain conditions are present, and so a woman might go into an agent or a broker and say, you know, I'd like some medical insurance. I don't have the ability to have children. I don't intend to have any children. And so as a result, I'd like to, in fact, have a policy that doesn't provide those benefits. And the one thing that we do know is that when you, in fact, mandate a specific coverage, someone has to pay for it. I believe every woman has the right to say, I don't want that coverage. I'm not going to have any children. So as a result of this mandate, they're going to pay for something they cannot, in fact, use. And members, Ms. Gloria Negrete-McLeod talked about prostate. Women are not going to have prostate cancer. Well, that risk is not factored into the rates relative to women's insurance policies. So I think you have to recognize that there are some times when folks just do not want to pay for a benefit that somebody else wants to mandate that they in fact take. And so today I rise in opposition and ask that you vote no and give every woman the right and opportunity to make that decision for themselves.
Senator Negrete-McLeod, you may close.
Thank you, members. The author has been carrying this bill for a couple of years, and I know he'd want your aye vote, so I respectfully ask for it.
Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Negrete-McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Wright? Aye. Wolk, aye. Wyland? Yee? Yee, aye.
Ayes 23, noes 11. The bill is passed. Next item.
Thank you, members. You made me happy again. This is the last one, Madam President, until we do unfinished business. Okay. Madam President and members, AB 1535, item 57, 1335.
File item 57.
57? No, 133.
File item 133. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1535 by Assemblymember Jones, an act relating to hearing aids.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill was heard in my committee, the Business and Profession Committee. The bill allows audiologists to sell hearing aids under their audiology license. It represents a negotiated compromise between the audiologists and the hearing aid dispensers. The Senate Business Professions and Economic Development Committee amended the bill to eliminate the Hearing Aid Dispensers Bureau and combine these functions with the Speech, Language, Pathology, and Audiology Board. The consolidation of the Hearing Aid Dispensers Bureau under the Audiology Board was part of the Governor's reorganization proposal and is supported by the Policy Committee. Recent amendments in the Senate: 1, make technical corrections, address concerns about medical doctors who dispense hearing aids, and C, create a hearing aid dispenser committee under the combined board. I ask for your aye vote on this bill.
Senator Wyland.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, a question of the senator carrying the bill. It was also my understanding that there was a compromise, but in our analysis, it indicates there's one group of dispensers who remain in opposition. Is that incorrect?
That is probably correct. Some of the dispensers are still unhappy about going over to the audiology combined board, and so I don't think we're going to make everybody happy, but this was the administration's recommendation, and you know, as we sat in committee, we all agreed in the committee that this is what we were doing. I don't think we're going to take that off, and I don't think we're going to make everybody happy.
There are some dispensers, though, who have acknowledged this agreement. Is that
That is correct. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Senator Negetha McLeod, you may close.
I thought I did. I ask for your aye vote.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Onnested? Alquist? Aye. No. Onnested, no. Ashburn? Benoit? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? No. Cox? Aye. Denham? Aye. DeSaulnier? Aye. DeCheney? Aye. Dutton? Aye. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negetha McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? Smidian? Steinberg? Strickland? Aye. Walters? Aye. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Wright? Aye. Wyland? Aye. Yee? Yee, no?
Ayes 27, noes 5. The bill is passed. Members, we are going to take a moment to lift calls. We have quite a number of bills that were put on calls. All members are on the floor at this point. The desk has requested us to clear these, so we're going to go ahead and start lifting calls. Okay, before we lift calls, we are going to go to Senator Lowenthal. What is the file item? Senator Lowenthal recognized at Senator Steinberg's desk.
Thank you, members. Today I'm very pleased and honored, along with Senator Simitian, if someone... Can you get Senator Simitian? He's in the Maddie Lounge.
Senator Ducheney, did you wish to be recognized while Senator Lowenthal is... Senator Ducheney, for what purpose?
Thank you very much, Madam President. Under motions and resolutions, we need to return SB 3X12 and SB 3X13 to the Assembly floor for further action. Do we need to go into this?
Right, we have to go into, so let's hold off on this for a while. But also under motions and resolutions, at the request of the author, AB 1012, which is file item 127, has been pulled off of the proposed special consent calendar. That's file item 127. Senator Lowenthal.
Thank you. The wait will be well worth it. Today I'm very pleased to be presenting a resolution to Dr. Bruce Jennings. Dr. Jennings has served the legislature for 25 years. Dr. Jennings first was a Senate fellow. Bruce was a Senate fellow and then became the chief consultant in the Environmental Quality Committee. Bruce, I served as the chair of that committee in 2004, 2005. And I'd just like to say just a few things about Bruce, and then Senator Simitian wants to say a few things. I just want to say in the resolution, as we all know, that Bruce played a major role relating to green chemistry, chemical policy, the regulations of toxic substances, including the Toxic Information Clearinghouse, and really has provided a leadership role. I honor Bruce today. I think he has served the legislature very well. I am pleased to have him as a friend of mine. And later, there will be coffee and cookies in my office, room 2032, just coffee and cookies, to honor Bruce Jennings. And before Bruce says anything, I'd like Senator Simitian also to say a few words.
Senator Simitian.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, only to add that during the 3+ years that I had the privilege of working with Dr. Jennings as the committee consultant and in my role as chair of the committee, I was impressed week after week after week. There was no one whose knowledge of the subject nor passion for the right product exceeded Dr. Bruce Jennings. We will miss his expertise, we will miss his passion, and we wish him well wherever he goes in his life and in his career. Please join me in thanking Dr. Bruce Jennings for so many years of service.
Congratulations and thank you. Senator Hollingsworth, for what purpose do you rise?
I'd like to announce a Republican caucus.
Senator Hollingsworth, would you object if we were to do the lifting of calls first and then break into caucuses?
How long is that going to take?
We've got one page. We have probably about 15, 13 bills.
All right.
10 minutes. Okay, thank you. Members, we're going to lift calls. Let's do this promptly. File item 54, call the absent members.
Ashburn, Calderon, Cedillo, Tisanier, Flores, Hancock, Maldonado, Negrete McLeod, Oropesa, Pavley, Price, Runner, no. Simitian, Steinberg, Strickland, no. Yee, aye. Calderon, no. Hancock, aye. Yee, aye to no. Okay. Lou, aye to no.
Members will call the absentees. Call the absent members.
Ashburn, no. Cedillo, Flores, aye. Maldonado, Negrete McLeod, Oropesa, Wright, aye to no.
Ayes 18, noes 18. Senator Wolk moves a call. File item 62, call the absent members.
Onnested, no. Calderon, Cedillo, DeSaulnier, aye. DeCheney, Hancock, aye. Liu, Negrete McLeod, no. Liu, aye. Oropesa, Padilla, Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Steinberg, aye. Yee, aye. Correa, no. Calderon, no.
Senator Lowenthal replaces
DeCheney,
the
no.
call. File item 77, call the absent members.
Onnested, no. Calderon, no. Cedillo, Cogdill, no. DeCheney, Hancock, aye. Negrete McLeod, no. Oropesa, Padilla, Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Steinberg, aye. Wyland, no. Correa, no. Smidian, aye. DeCheney, no.
Ayes 16, noes 21. Senator Wolk replaces the call. Members, just a reminder, if your name is not called, it means you have already voted. Please do not yell out your name again. Only call out your name if you wish to change your vote. File item 81, call the absent members.
Ashburn, Benoit, Cogdill, Dutton, Hancock, aye. Hollingsworth, Huff, Oropesa, Steinberg, aye. Walters, Wyland, Denham, aye to no.
Ayes 25, noes 6. Senator Negrete McLeod replaces the call. File item 91, call the absent members.
Cedillo, Cogdill, no. Flores, aye. Hollingsworth, no. Oropesa, Padilla, Steinberg, aye. Wiggins, aye.
Ayes 20, noes 17. Senator Liu replaces the call. File item 93, call the absent members.
Cedillo, Cogdill, no. Correa, DeSaulnier, aye. Flores, aye. Hollingsworth, no. Lowenthal, aye. Oropesa, Padilla, aye. Price, aye. Steinberg, aye. Correa, aye.
Ayes 24, noes 14. The bill is passed. File item 101, call the absent members.
Onnested. Alquist. Aye. Onnested, no. Cedillo. Cogdill. Cox. Aye. Flores. Aye. Cedillo, aye. Hancock. Aye. Hollingsworth. No. Negrete McLeod. Oropesa. Pavley. Aye. Smidian. Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. Aye. Walters.
Ayes 30.
Wolk. Aye. Cogdill, aye.
Members, you can only vote aye or no.
So Hancock, aye to no.
Ayes 34, noes 3.
Aye. Hancock, aye. Hancock, no to aye.
Ayes 35, noes 2. The bill is passed. File item 129. Call the absent members.
Onnested. Aye. Alquist. Aye. Benoit. Cedillo. Aye. Cogdill. No. Corbett. Cox. Denham. DeSaulnier. Aye. Ducheney. Flores. Aye. Hollingsworth. No. Leno. Aye. Maldonado. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Oropesa. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Smidian. Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. Wolk. Wolk, aye. Benoit, no. Cox, no. Ducheney, aye. Corbett, aye. Lowenthal.
Ayes 24, noes 12. The bill is passed. File item 97. Call the absent members.
Onnested. Alquist. Aye. Cedillo. Aye. Cogdill. No. Cox. No. DeSaulnier. Aye. Flores. Aye. Hollingsworth. No. Leno. Aye. Maldonado. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Oropesa. Pavley. Aye. Smidian. Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye. Okay. Benoit, no to aye. Harmon, aye to no. Harmon, aye. Weiland, aye to no.
Ayes.
Onnested, no.
Ayes 26, noes 12. The bill is passed. File item 82. Call the absent members.
Onnested, no. Alquist, aye. Ashburn. Benoit. Cedillo. Cedillo, aye. Cogdill, no. Cox, aye. Denham. DeSaulnier, aye. Dutton. Hollingsworth, no. Leno, aye. Maldonado. Negrete McLeod, aye. Oropesa. Pavley, aye. Runner, no. Smidian, aye. Strickland, aye. Walters, no. Wolk, Wolk, aye. Benoit, aye. Denham, aye. Ashburn, no.
Ayes 31, noes 6. The bill is passed. File item 53. Call the absent members.
Onnested, no. Alquist, aye. Cedillo, aye. Cogdill, no. Correa, Cox, no. DeSaulnier, aye. Duchesne, Flores, Hollingsworth, no. Leno, aye. Maldonado, Negrete McLeod, aye. Oropesa, Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Runner, no. Smidian, Steinberg, aye. Strickland, no. Wolk, Wolk, aye. Flores, aye. Smidian, aye.
Ayes 23, noes 13. The bill is passed. File item 139. Call the absent members.
Onnested, Ashburn, Benoit, Cedillo, aye. Cogdill, Cox, Denham, Dutton, Harmon, Hollingsworth, Huff, Leno, aye. Maldonado, Oropesa, Pavley, aye. Runner, Smidian, aye. Steinberg, aye. Strickland, Walters,
Ayes 24, noes 1. Senator Lowenthal replaces the call. File item 100. Call the absent members.
Cedillo, DeSaulnier, aye. Duchesne, Hollingsworth, no. Maldonado, Oropesa, Runner, no. Smidian, aye. Steinberg, aye. Cedillo, aye.
Ayes 23, noes 14. The bill is passed. File item 124. Call the absent members.
Benoit, Cedillo, Cedillo, no. Correa, DeSaulnier, aye. Hollingsworth, Leno, aye. Lowenthal, Oropesa, Padilla, Pavley, Price, Romero, Runner, aye. Smidian, no. Steinberg, Wiggins, Wolk, Leno, aye to no. Hollingsworth, aye. DeSaulnier, aye to no. Benoit, aye. Strickland, aye. Strickland, no to aye.
Ayes 17, noes 13. Senator Negrete McLeod replaces the call. Members, those are all the measures that are on call at this point. We are going to break now for both Republican and Democratic caucuses. Senator Steinberg is estimating the Democratic caucus will last about 45 minutes. The Senate will now be in recess.